Welcome, welcome everyone. I'm Jan Jeremias, one of your hosts today, and Mary Jane and I are so happy you are here with us today for this conversation. Just a little bit about me. I'm an integrative health and wellness coach and author who works with people and pets to help them overcome health challenges and live healthier lives. And I'm really excited to be joined today once again with my beautiful co-host, collaborator, and friend, the amazing and very kind Mary Jane McQueen. And so, Mary Jane, tell everyone a little bit about yourself and we will begin.
Yeah, welcome everyone. And as always, I'm pleased to be here with all of you and even more importantly with Jan. Yeah, so for me, I am a graphic designer, and my creative studio helps entrepreneurs step into their light and share their gifts authentically. So I do that by helping them with their brand, etc., and helping them to overcome self-doubt. So that's my joy and privilege to be able to serve in that way. So, and Jan, as always, will continue to shine bright because that's what she just does naturally. So,
Thank you. Did you want to start? Do we want to start with our poem or a poem? We have multiple today, so a poem.
we couldn't decide. Okay, that's just the way it is because they both spoke to us from different levels. So, yeah. So the first one is a lovely poem. It's by S.C. Laurie of Butter. This is a Butterflies and Pebbles. I guess that's business, I guess. But it says, go into this week with the attitude that your health of mind, and your heart mean more than getting everything else done. That your smile matters, that feeling rested matters, that holding the hand of your loved ones matter. So pause lots, function at a pace that doesn't pull you apart. Honor the things that make you feel good inside, the things that make you feel alive. Give time to those things this week. Make time the gift it is by giving it to what really matters to you. Such a beautiful poem in the sense that it sort of speaks to that um, giving ourselves the gift of pause, and that's something that um, we often forget to do, and it really is a really important piece, as we've shared many times before. It's very important to refill our own cup so that we're able to fill others from the overflow. So it's so true, and I'm so glad that you've decided to take a pause with us this morning or today.
Yeah, yeah. So good morning again, everyone. And yes, it is a beautiful poem. And once again, we're so glad you're here. So before we begin, I invite you to take a moment to take a deep breath. Inhale fully and exhale slowly. Let yourself arrive, not just physically, but fully, mind, body, spirit. And I wanted to begin with this quote. To the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders, by Lao Tzu. Today, we're going to explore something that many of us struggle with, the tendency to live in our heads rather than in our experience. We analyze, plan, and problem solve, but in doing so, we often miss the richness of the present moment. Think about it. When was the last time you truly tasted your food instead of just eating it? Felt the warmth of the sun on your skin without distraction? Listen to the sound of the wind or a loved one's voice without letting your mind race ahead. This session is an invitation to step out of overthinking and into being, to engage with life through your senses, your body, and your breath. We'll explore what it means to shift from thinking about life to experiencing it fully, from doing into being. Every day, the world pulls us in countless directions, demanding our attention, convincing us that we must do more, think more, accomplish more. But what if we pause, place a hand on our heart, and listen to what truly matters? It's a beautiful quote. And every day the world will drag you by the hand, yelling, "This is important, and this is important, and this is important. You need to worry about this, and this, and this." And each day, it's up to you to yank your hand back, put it on your heart, and say, "No, this is what's important," by Ian Thomas. And so let's begin our conversation today. And we look forward to hearing what you have to say. Mary Jane?
It would help if I could actually locate the unmute button. Um, yeah, that's it's just so wonderful to be able to be here and just take the time because I mean, we all know that the doing mode really is just being sort of like task oriented and focused and just constantly achieving. But often, when we take the time to ourselves, we'd have that time to just really be able to um, listen to the voice of our heart because those are the things that as the introduction that Jan was sharing and the quotes speak to is literally um, it's just really the most I noticed that Divine is putting a comment in there. Sorry, I got distracted for a second. It's just really the most important thing because it's really about being mindful. And I know Jan really has focused a lot of her um, experience in mindfulness. And so it's just really using that as a tool to really help us to shift from doing to being more deeply self-aware as to what's happening in our bodies and getting out of that tangle, or at least mine is that tangle that my mind can be where it's just twisting and turning in all directions and just really taking time to breathe and relax into um, finding what is really the true importance of the things that um, we want to get done, and especially so. Yes, Al, that's right. The power of now. So it's like, what do I need right now? That's exactly it. So I love that. Thank you for that perspective.
Divine is raising her hand and will, in a moment, Divine, we'd love to hear what you have to say. But so true, Mary Jane. It's like, what do I need right now? What's important right now? Um, and taking ourselves out of that really very, very busy tendency to keep ourselves so busy that we barely have time to breathe. It's like one thing to the next, or at the points where we do that purposefully because we wish to avoid whatever's happening within us. It's like, oh, okay, well, the busier I am, the less I need to feel, and the less I need to like sort of address maybe what's really going on beneath the surface of me, right? The deeper me. Divine,
I'm here. Thank you. Thank you for the little pause, for the grace and the pause. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well today. I'm getting ready for my appointment, and I raised my hand because Mary Jan said something about she got distracted by the comments. And when I was thinking about being more present in the moment, how it's important to be focused, right? To be focused in one thing at a time or being focused on what we're doing in that moment. And it's also natural for us to get distracted or wander off because the brain works that way, right? The brain has different particles of, right brain, left brain, especially they say intelligent people know how to use all parts of their brain, right? We can multitask. But there's the but. The but is that if we want more inner peace and inner harmony within ourselves, practice mindfulness practices and being fully present in the moments, right? So, for example, if you're eating dinner, can you fully be present and just eating dinner? You're not eating dinner and watching your phone or and watching TV. You're fully being present, enjoying the meal, tapping into all of your senses, right? How does it taste? How does it feel? How does this meal taste? And, how does it make me feel as I'm eating it? And studies have shown that you can change the vibrational frequency in anything that you come in contact with, including us humans, right? I love being in this space every Friday. You could change the frequency in the food depending on your mood as well, right? So we're getting poetic in here today, ladies, because creativity and being present, right? If you can find one thing that you are grateful for, that you're good at, that brings you joy every single day, and put your full attention and focus on that, that means put your phone on the other side of the room, right? Get rid of your distractions. And if, even as a speaker, I've been speaking for about 3.5 years now. And I've noticed that whenever I'm hosting rooms or whenever I'm speaking, this may help you, just giving a gem. Okay, you guys don't have to take it. But it's just like, I don't even look at the phone or the computer or the laptop sometimes when I'm speaking because I notice that, yes, my monkey brain is going to want to say, ooh, 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 right? And look everywhere and look and get distracted, So it does take practice to focus, but it starts with one thing, one day at a time, and fully putting your energy and your senses in that one thing. And I like to say, making sure that it brings you some sense of joy, whether that's music, dancing, drawing, journaling, cooking, whatever it may be. Just get in there and be happy in there. And I'll land it there, loves. Thank you.
Um, I love that, Divine. And I'd like to just take it one step further. I think that if we can do anything with full presence, we find the joy in it because it becomes such a deeper experience. So you could be doing something that I mean, I love to do it with everyday tasks, like folding laundry, where I'm just sitting there and I'm actually folding the laundry. And if you fully experience that actual thing of the feeling of the clothing, maybe the smell of the clean clothes, how you fold it, it becomes a very joyful experience. So what I like to call those pockets of joy, those little glimmers of joy, which, you can bring into everyday tasks. And I find that some of the best tasks to do that with is things that maybe we consider oh gosh, I've got to wash the dishes, you know, maybe we don't enjoy doing some of those tasks, but they can be truly become ways of accessing, peace and joy if you really spend a moment to actually truly experience them and not distract yourself with other things. I think that, we kind of, it got framed to us or told to us that, multitasking was the best way to do anything. We should be multitasking because we would get so much more done and so much more accomplished, or yada, yada, yada. And actually, I think it's been found the exact opposite. I think we're much better off focusing on one thing at a time. And so, and I think we see it in conversation too. How many of us have conversations and we're looking at our phone or looking at the computer for no reason? I mean, depends on what it's about, obviously. But it can be a huge distraction. And then you realize a minute of the conversation is going by and you don't have any idea what the person just said to you, so, um, Let's hear from Zara. So, Zara, good day to you. Good afternoon, I think it is for you.
Good afternoon, Jan, and everyone here. And thank you for allowing me to join late. We've just got back from the drama lesson that we take my son to, which is something that I've been focusing on. And I actually posted about it today, about leaning into pain. And what do I mean about leaning into pain? I do believe that it is quite easy to look for distractions, as you said. I mean, I've resorted in the past to play music when I'm upset. And yes, it does help to get through a really trying period when, when you say you can't see the woods from the trees and the problem's so big. So I started homeschooling my son, and then I started considering how we're going to improve on his socializing, and one thing led to another. And recently, we also experienced quite a lot of family mishaps and traumas going back to centuries, I think, is possibly the easiest way to put it. And I was telling some of my stories to people I met, which I believed had a similar background to me, so that they could see potentially what could be in front of them if they don't do anything about it. And it was really about understanding the people around them rather than judging. It's very easy to judge when we don't understand someone else. And there's shortcuts in the brains that just create more and more misunderstandings. And there was one particular story that I had told something like 5 times, and I still wasn't settled with it. And eventually I sat down and I spent, I'd say, 5 days editing it. And I kept editing bits out, and I thought, what's that one or two words that's really almost triggering me? Why am I so unsettled with it? And eventually I got to the root cause of what was my trigger behind this story. And I thought, well, what's the message here? Talking about focus. What is it I'm trying to say here? And how are these stories going to help others? Because what's that common theme? That people can follow the thread and not get distracted and go off on a different tangent. Once I got that sorted, I was happy to share it because I felt I could talk to somebody else without having to, I don't want to say get defensive, but get awkward around talking about the subject, which brings me on to dissolving post-traumatic stress syndrome and how we go about it. So today I've put up a video with the steps, and I do believe that if we leaned into the pain of our past and did something about it, we can help ourselves move on. So we don't have to look for distractions and just try and get through the day and heal ourselves, really, so we can heal others. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you, Zara, for the beautiful share. And I think that I mean, first of all, that requires a great deal of courage, right, to lean into the pain. And that could be, that doesn't necessarily need to be emotional pain. That could be physical pain. Um, to actually not, doing what I do, which is much more holistic health. And I don't want people to be in physical pain or emotional pain, but physical pain. Um, it's sometimes, but I'm also a huge advocate that pain is a message. Like it's trying to tell you something, no matter what it is, whether it's emotional or physical. Like it's a reason it's trying to give you information. And we don't want to choose, to me, you don't want to choose to ignore it and cover it up. I mean, I find that with my clients and students that when people, cover up physical pain, they cause more damage, and so, it's like when people come to class with me and they say, well, don't worry, I was in pain, but I took something, I took over the counter or something. And I'm sitting there going like, before class, like it's not what you want to do. You want to know when you're in pain so you know when to stop. It's like, okay, I shouldn't be doing this. And, having been in both, in periods of my life, physical pain and just, the patience it requires to kind of sit with it and to pause and breathe into it, and the courage it takes not to run away from it, is really huge. Yep, I know. I have that question. Mary Jane just posted a question. I have that question, I think, in the meditation that I'm going to do later. Moment meditation. How might you fill in this blank? If I constantly keep myself busy, I won't have to stop and think about or feel blank. It's a
Thank you,
good.
Jan. Now, I talking about that leaning into pain. My son prefers one-to-ones. He didn't fit into the mainstream. Now, throwing him into a classroom of 30 wasn't working. But I wanted to encourage him to reach out and be in that group setting because, the world isn't one-to-one, is it? And it's about finding his, being able to get on with it. And the way I went about it was, well, how are you ever going to make any friends if you keep avoiding these kind of settings? And so when we joined it today and the last few sessions, I've met quite a few other mums who've had similar, experiences with their children. Their children are now struggling, and the conversation turned to how their children had been even bullied online because they'd felt like they wanted to share about what had happened to them, and other people didn't understand them and just started taking the mickey out of them, and it's kind of resulted in them going into their shell. So we're now talking about setting up a little support group for the little boys so that they can share their experiences with each other. And I thought, what a beautiful thing that came out of today. And you never know unless you start sharing, the mums just speaking and looking out for each other and going, yeah, I went through something similar. And I can see that. And I can see that he's got a lot of talent in this area. But let's help each other come out of this thing together. So that whole community, that then ripples effects into our life in general, I think is something we can do if we put ourselves out as opposed to hiding away. Thank you.
No, absolutely. And I love that because I think community is, was one of the things that drew me into what I do now. And my avenue of healing or my path or my journey was greatly once I found a community of people that I connected with, that understood, that didn't judge, that was where people were not necessarily had the same experience, but people were authentic and shared. And so I think that that's really an important, and we every single person needs that wherever they find it and however they gather those people. Like we all need people that, you know, resonate with us, that are open to listening. So I know Darlene wants to share. Mary Jane, did you want to chime in at all before Darlene speaks?
Yeah, it's just so interesting. Yeah, when it's as Zara was speaking and sharing her story with her son, and just, sometimes, whether that's it could be just being and just listening, as she was saying that she was listening, all the moms were sharing the different pieces. And when we start to listen to, the voices and the beingness of our hearts, that's the when magic happens. And so that's how I feel, for Zara, that was an awesome experience for you in order to be able to um, find without trying, because that's what it is sometimes, when we're in our heads and we're trying and we're trying and we're trying and we're thinking and we're thinking and we're thinking. And sometimes the best thing to do is to be quiet or listen to the heart, and the solutions are there because the answers are always there. But Darlene, what would you like to share?
So thank you, everybody. I always find it interesting because when conversations happen like these, and is a it really resonates with me. It's a very visceral feeling, and then in my mind, I've got so many different things I want to share, and I'm going to try and keep it cohesive because I got lots in my head because you've all shared such wonderful things. So first off, when it comes to, the I have to, I get to, and being in the moment, this whole conversation is so it resonates so much with me right at the moment because I'm literally right in the middle of mindfulness certification, and it just is so poignant. Um, that being in the moment, that having the gratitude for the moment is so phenomenal once you can tap into it. So I actually, right by my desk, if you were to see my computer screen, to the right of my computer screen, I have a little piece of paper that says I have to versus I get to versus I am blessed to. And I put that up a number of years ago after listening to a podcast, and it really struck me because there's so many times I know for me where I say, oh gosh, I have to do that. And when you flip that script and that language to I have to versus I get to, right? Like, I mean, Jan, you had mentioned the dishes, right? Oh God, gosh, I have to wash the dishes, but I get to wash the dishes, and I'm blessed to wash the dishes because there's abundance here. And it's incredible how words and taking that moment to pause and to actually affirm that you're blessed to, or whatever other words you can put there other than perhaps blessed, if blessed doesn't resonate. But it really does change that feeling, that visceral feeling in the body. And then when talking about that non-striving and that beginner's mind, when I had a number of years ago, I had gotten sick, and in when I was in the hospital, I had my headphones on and I was listening to meditations after meditations, and just affirming that I'm well, my body knows how to heal. But then I got to a point where I started to, um, instead of move into instead of being reactive to what I was feeling, I started to actually go into what am I feeling? Not judging it, right? What am I feeling? Where is the pain coming from? Oh, that's interesting. And that's what led me down this whole journey of, wow, I don't have to judge what's going on. I can let some things go. Easier said than done for sure. This is just completely my experience, but it has really sort of paved the way for going into situations and going into the world with that beginner's mind and not being so judgmental of myself or others, not striving necessarily to fix things, but the patience that it takes. And I believe, I think somebody else said it right, the courage that it takes to sit with that, because it's not easy, and that's not what we're taught to do, and that's not the way the world sees things, right? We need to be doing 15 things at once, and you take something to get through it. So it's a choice. I feel like for me, it was a choice of, I don't want to just go through it. I want to figure out where it's coming from. I want to ask those questions. How can I make this feel different? How can I understand what's going on? And I think that just opens up to just such a different place of feeling lighter within the body, and being able to express myself a little bit more authentically, and being able to share the gifts that I'm learning and the wisdom that I'm learning with others, and being able to take it in as well too, being more receptive to learning from others, and understanding that we all come from different places and we're all so unique. And it is such a gift to be able to share that in a community where you can hear it. Thanks so much, everybody.
Oh, thank you, Darlene. I have to sit for a moment with what you said. Mm. But one of the things you talked about, and I had a very, similar experience. I think one of the first experiences when Zara was talking about pain was, I don't know, I want to say a number of years ago, I was in a car accident. And thankfully, I went to the hospital, but I wasn't admitted, but basically went black and blue from the top of my legs all the way up to my neck, like the complete front of my body was entirely like one big, bruise. And I was in so much pain. And here I am, I use my body, and I'm yoga teaching at the time, and thinking to myself, like, is my career over? What am I going to do if I can't practice again? And I remember sitting there on my mat in my yoga room at home when I got home, barely being able to move and couldn't do anything except lay on my back with my knees bent, with my feet on the ground. and just breathe and breathe into the pain. It was just like, cry, do whatever I had to do, but really truly be in it. And I was reading a wonderful transcript and listening to a wonderful podcast by an interview with Dr. Shauna Shapira, who's a wonderful mindfulness teacher. And she talks about something very similar that she had when she had back surgery when she was about 18. And she, thought basically her life was over. She was in the hospital for 6 months. And she was given a wonderful book by John Kabat-Zinn. And she said she opened the book and the quote on the front page said, "Whatever's happened to you, it's already happened. The only thing that matters is now what." And that's really something. Yeah. Somebody talk. Did somebody take themselves off? Oh, there you go. I thought it was you, Devon.
Jan,
Yeah.
no, I didn't. I thought you were done. I'm sorry. I have to
Oh, no,
go.
I
I'm sorry.
was. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have to go. I just wanted to say that all of you have inspired me today with all of your shares. And
Oh,
I just wanted to say thank you so much because I'm getting ready to go to occupational therapy. So this was very inspirational, and I'm going to remind myself to connect to that pain or that numbness that I be feeling sometimes, right? Yeah, I'm gonna merge with it. I'm gonna love on it, and we'll see what happens. So I will stay in touch as well. And Jan, I'm interested in yoga too. So
oh,
thank you for your patience. I love you guys. Thank you
love
so
you.
much.
Fine.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you so much. We'll send her a lot of healing vibes.
Yes.
Um, it's remarkable. But I loved that quote by John Kabat-Zinn, and I also love him. But this whole idea of, this has happened, now what? And at that point, you mentioned the word choice, Darlene, and I think we do. We have a choice, right? We have a choice, of how we respond versus, whether we distract ourselves or rush right into the next thing. And then, get into that sort of reactive, very panicked place. Mary Jane helped and talked me through something last night as I got like this kind of moment of like news that really kind of made me, and I just paused and breathed. I looked at my father's picture and said, "I'm calling in for help at the moment." And, just to not rush and go into this sort of panic mode of whirlwind mind, where I was, because our mind is going to take us through 1,000 scenarios and many of them which are not, I want to say advantageous or
Or maybe not the most productive in our need to be productive minds, right?
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
But yeah, it's yeah, I love the wonderful perspectives, and Darlene, thank you for speaking to, and really what you're speaking to, I think, is intentional choice, making the intentional choice to be and not always be doing, like, allow yourself that time, whatever is needed, and to live in the moment. Um, just to rest if you need to, play when you want to, take a nap, read a book, and really just sleep in if that's what if you have the opportunity to do that. But just giving yourself permission, making the conscious choice, the intentional choice. I just really loved that perspective.
Seamus, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just on this topic, like thanks guys, it's a lovely conversation. It's the whole idea of a lot of people I've worked with, they sometimes ask, like through this whole mindfulness process and creating space and noticing, how do I know when I'm operating from the heart and when I'm operating from the head? And I think that causes a lot of people to kind of really overanalyze. And, just today's conversation has helped me to maybe get some clarity on that because I think it's quite simple. It's when you're feeling that sense of overwhelm, you're in the head. because when you're in the heart, that doesn't exist because the heart is never overwhelmed. And that's been a lesson for me actually just in today's conversation. It's a simple way of inviting a person who is feeling a sense of overwhelm and doesn't really understand, well, am I in the head or am I in the heart? Which do I trust and how do I get to operating more from the heart? And I think it is as simple as that. It's about noticing, yes, I'm feeling overwhelmed. So now I must be in the head because it can't be coming. This simply can't be coming from the heart because the heart doesn't operate like that. And I think that could be a great way of inviting people to get clarity around, because I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm in the head. And this is my invitation now, just as we're speaking about that quote. I'm noticing that. And now I know, because I'm noticing that I'm feeling overwhelmed. That is the definition itself of I'm in the head. And it's an invitation to go to heart. And, the whole idea of mindfulness, it brought to mind the word heartfulness. And I mean, to say that for me probably is an invitation to kind of refocus. And, I get to, rather from the space of we spoke about earlier, from I have to reframe that into I get to. And that's what's kind of coming to mind as well when I think of mindfulness and heartfulness, is when I notice that I'm in overwhelm, I'm in the mind. And now, through creating space and through that noticing, I'm now deliberately and intentionally going to take a couple of deep breaths as a deliberate mechanism to get to a heartful space away from that mindful space that I'm in, with around reframing what we think about when we think about mindfulness. And for me, I suppose I'm thinking I might begin to use the term heartful when I begin to notice I'm in a busy space, I'm in the mind and a busy mind, an invitation to me to go and create and operate more from the heart is the noticing, the clarity that comes with that. I'm in the head. And now through the breath, which is what I really love. Maybe it's been nature, maybe it's whatever tool works for you, is going to open that door to the heartful place, which is a space where you can really feel and experience and know that you're operating from heart, because the overwhelm is less, or will eventually with practice dissipate completely, and you just know you're operating from a different energy. So yeah, thanks everyone for reminding me of that as a process, I suppose, today after today's conversation.
Thank you, Shane.
Yeah.
Um, I absolutely love that heartfulness. Because part of me, a few things that came to mind, few words that came to mind when you were speaking, Seamus, was this whole idea of, moving from that space of overwhelm, which is obviously, um, the thinking, the analytical, the mind, to the heart. And the heartfulness, just that kind of pathway, also instills in me this word of compassion. Having compassion for ourselves when we go into that overwhelm and that initial kind of almost shock kind of place of this whole idea of, that. And I think of it as, if you say heartfulness, it feels gentle. It feels like the opposite of overwhelm. Like it just has a tone of like guiding yourself or journeying back to yourself, to your heart. And obviously you said breath, but that's what I was thinking of exactly. Because I think no matter what we do, like whether, we go out in nature, if that's your avenue, if you think about it, what do you usually do when you go out? You take a few deep breaths, so whether you're indoors, outdoors, it doesn't matter where you are. To me, it's all connected with the breath. And I know, Mary Jane, you also wanted to say something.
Yeah, it's it's interesting. I love, Shivis, that you love the word heartfulness. I love that, because I just wanted to share, because it really brought a smile to my face, because I am blessed to be able to share in a group that I'm part of, and I also usually share it on my personal feed as well on Facebook. Um, on Sundays, every other Sunday, I share a post that just of whatever inspiration or things that are sort of coming to me, and there was another name for it when it was originally, they had like a theme for it. And I said, no, I want to change my Sunday to be Heartful Sunday. Partly a play on the word of art, because of course that's a key part of what I do. But also, I love, Jen, how you were sharing that there's a sort of gentleness to it, a compassion, and that's behind everything that I do. That's kindness, empathy, and compassion. That's my key. So I just love that this word came into this talk, this conversation today, because it really brought a smile to my face, because that's the intent for which I write on those Sundays, is to bring a gentle a gentle inspiration, a gentle reminder. And yeah, I love that. So thank you, Seamus, for bringing that word forward, because I just love it. It speaks to my heart, of course. Thank you.
And mine too, of course. But I love, yeah, I love that. And thank you, Mary Jane. And, I think there is the possibility, there's like before Zara talks and then Al wants to say something. I think there is that place, that path of, we can, as much as possible, that practice of, let's say, daily mindfulness is a way that we then can access it for when things get like overwhelming, is the um opportunity for us to be while we do. Okay. So I'll just plant that there and then hear from Zara.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Jan. So yeah, this is a topic, and I love the term heartfulness. Like you say, it does sound much gentler. And I believe that there is a big place for heartful, heart-centered businesses these days. And I can see, I get the feeling and the impression that what you and Mary Jane are doing is very much that. Now, one thing that I've been learning is about how our bodies are designed to balance themselves. Okay, if we allow them, and and despite the fact I have a chemistry degree, I learned something new this year, and that was that when we are stressed and we're feeling overwhelmed, our body creates this hormone called oxytocin. And I wanted to just put it out there. Do you think that this hormone oxytocin makes our body feel more stressed, less stressed, or no effect whatsoever? Who would like to answer that question, if that's okay?
Anybody want to answer that question, or do we want to get back to it? Or if Zara, you know the answer, please share.
So our body actually gets more stress. And that sounds really crazy, doesn't it? Because if you're stressed, why would your body want to make you even more stressed? And I think it's that whole overwhelm we're now starting to talk about. It's because our body is trying to force us to do the one thing that we need to do to relieve it. And that is to share with someone else, to reach out. Why we talk about communities and having friends, so that we can turn up to them and say, I experienced this. And it's that shared experience that then comes out of our brain and goes back into our brain softer. And so we are then able to handle more and more tension, as opposed to parking it, thinking, I don't want to think about it. I have to get back to it later. And it could just be something that's happened, sometime during our day or sometime in our past, that's just sitting there waiting to be shared with someone we trust. And yet we avoid it. I don't know why we do this. Maybe we feel like other people don't want to hear it. But I believe it's really good to find somebody else who's going through a similar thing and share those stories with them, or share those experiences with them, so that we can also help them along the way. And that's a method I've chosen to do, knowing that not only am I helping myself, but also someone else. And I like to call that like a win-win now. And every single person I've I've done this with has said to me, wow, you just gave me an answer to a question I didn't even know I had yet. Because we get confused. That's what that whole overwhelm is, isn't it? When we're not quite sure what's bothering us and we can't do anything about it, and we put more and more and more stuff on our plate because we kind of want to brush it under the carpet and we haven't figured out what's really bothering us. So it's sitting with it and going, why do I feel like this? Who was there at that time? What was going on? What is that one thing that's really getting to me this badly that I'm feeling I have to put lots of other stuff on my plate? So, yeah, thank you for allowing me to share that, Jan and Mary Jane.
Oh, you're so welcome, Zara. And the oxytocin thing, I'm thinking about it. And I think some of these, I think almost all the reactions of that we have, that overwhelm or that whatever hormones are produced, and in this case, the oxytocin, what ends up happening is you have to think if we go back to our primitive lives where we were very much, whether animals or humans, we're very pack oriented. People in the wild did not survive alone. I mean, we were in clans or communities and animals, there were packs or prides or and so it was a way upon calling upon those that were in your, immediate proximity to be able to kind of recruit them into whatever was happening, because usually it meant danger, right? And I think that that's how we perceive a lot of what happens to us now. That's why we become, many times we become overwhelmed because in our mind, or in our bodies, we have this reaction of like, being caught in the Sahara Desert, surrounded by hyenas and all by ourselves. And so I think it's that ability that, that love hormone in a way doesn't surprise me, that oxytocin, because I feel like what are we trying to do? We're trying to gather the clans or share, like to your point, or share something. So we're all trying to, feel supported in some way. Al, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I would like to go back to the point of mindfulness, because basically mindfulness is the power of now. It means what you're thinking right now. And you do not talk about the history, the past traumas, and or whatever the future is going to be ahead. So it's a mind centered towards the center of the like on the top, on the third eye, and from there you can actually close your eyes and have a good deep breath, and just to rethink back to ourselves, that what we should do. You should not be overwhelmed with lots of things, because things are happening every day, every now, and sometimes our body system cannot take it, and then we get into all these stress levels and high cortisols and all those stuff. So basically, in order to achieve the mindfulness, is just to close our eyes and just focus back onto our third eye and just have some deep breathing exercises. And from there, we can actually also think of because sometimes you say the mind, we do not know where the mind is. In science, when somebody asks you to point where is your mind, you cannot be pointing in your brain. So basically, the mind is does not. I mean, it's something that is very hysterical, and I would say, like similar to gut. When you have a gut feeling, is the intuitive behavior, that comes out. For example, in any certain circumstances that happen, it's always your intuition that comes out, from your gut. And and sometimes when it's also from your heart, what you're thinking, like what Seamus was saying. It's up to you. It's the heart. What you're doing. You can see that a lot of people out there, whether it's bad people or good people or whatever they do. Sometimes they did not think, if the for the bad people, they will think out of the box, and they try to always to scam people or do bad things. So eventually, the mindfulness is not in the right position or right moment. And this will eventually hit back hit back to them, later on when they have to be jailed or getting lots of bad karma and all that. So this is what I was my 2 cents here. Thanks.
Thank you, Al. We were talking about the thinking mind and getting back, and it's really interesting to me that in ancient traditions, and many of them, when they talk about like the seat of where thinking comes from, it was the heart, it wasn't the head, which is really interesting. It was like, oh, okay, where do we think from? And it was like, you know, and the heart was the center of thinking. It wasn't the brain at all. And so just, you know, it makes you think of like, where am I thinking from? You know, where am I acting from? Am I acting from my heart, or am I acting from my head? And you could say ego, or the mind. And so I guess, you know, to Seamus's original point, what kind of draws you back to that heart center? You know, what brings you back into that sort of, you know, that place where you think, okay, you know, let me direct or guide myself back to the heart and acting from there versus acting from, you know, whatever thoughts are going on in your head. Mary Jane?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I was just sort of smiling to myself, thinking, here we are, centuries and centuries later, removed from that wisdom, that thinking, that the feeling should really be coming from um, um, the heart. And now we are, at least hopefully more of us, but there are a number of us are now on the path of realizing that we really need to come back to our heart and get out of our head. um, you know, I think the heart, for me, if I'm leading with my heart, um, that always has been the best experiences that I've happened. I'm not saying that we shouldn't think. Obviously, we need to at times, but it's just whenever I'm leading with my heart, those are the experiences that really I cherish as memories and experiences that I've had. So I just wanted to share that insight. It was interesting that it's taken us this long to come back to that realization that the heart is the center, not the head.
Absolutely, Mary Jane. And I think it is interesting. And I think that society has kind of, you know, or let's say advancements, just the progression over the last like on hundreds of years, as far as, you know, like how much industrialization and moving, we got very, very mind oriented and kind of forgot a little bit about, or quite a bit about the heart part of it. And I mean, you see that in your favor, one of your favorite things, the arts, and the decline in spending time in the arts, or in the world with kids and students and all those other things. And we see that here, you know, where all those kind of, I want to say, endeavors or passions all of a sudden became sort of unacceptable, quote unquote. And we were supposed to, you know, focus purely on intellectual or mind achievements. And that became very valued or very acceptable. And also the label of success, you know. So all of a sudden to sit back and say, okay, you know, really what's important, you know, as we talk about, you know, what is really important to me, what is in the heart, what's in my heart, what's in yours, you know, kind of thing. Zar, did you want to share again?
Yes, I did. And this is something I'm still studying because I'm still not 100% on this, but it's something called flow. And it's putting our mind in the right spot and then giving up control and saying, yeah, like you say, what does your heart say? And inside our mind, apparently there's where our heart belongs. But unfortunately, through things like trauma, we kind of block it, those triggers we often talk about. So it's all linked. Like, there's a heart in your brain and there's a mind in our heart, if we try and think about it like this, because there's people who have had heart transplants, and even though the person's never touched anything like hot food, but because the heart that they have received used to like hot food, now they have a craving for it. So I think it's quite a complicated subject, and I do believe the heart, mind, soul is all connected. And let's think about that third eye we talk about. What energy are we allowing into us? I mean, if we go around looking for positive things, apparently that's not God's will. apparently God's will is normally rather painful. Again, I have to get my head around all this, but I've been having this conversation with my mentor, and I'll be working on editing that video, and I'd love to share it with you guys and hear what you have to say. So yeah,
Well,
I think we're still learning. Yeah, thank you.
absolutely, Zara. We're always still learning. And I think, yeah, I think that, if as they learn about um, anatomy and physiology and just even the mechanics, the fact that there are brain cells in there are brain cells or, the gut and brain connection, and then also the heart and brain connection. And, I don't think it's not as divided as we think. But I think our tendency is to, I just mentioned, is to to put all of our apples in one basket, so to speak. It's like we all, the world goes in one direction, and all of a sudden that's what's acceptable and that's what's done and that's what gets driven into us and everything. And then all of a sudden something happens and somebody starts to question, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, maybe it's not all in the head. And maybe that's not all that's important. Um, and then we go back in the other direction of, becoming more intentional or becoming more heartfelt, um, getting curious and delving into something that seems, oh, well, this can't be all there is. There has to be more. And I love that. Mary Jane just popped something in that we had from notes that we had taken for this session, is the tendencies from doing and being in the head too much, the judging, the planning, the constant like need for control, the burnout, the tendency for multitasking and sort of overextending yourself compared to these things of like awareness and noticing and exploring, acceptance, intuitive, creative, open-mindedness, you know, heartfeltness, in the being mode. And there is a place for both. And it's like a dance between both.
I love that perspective, Jan, of it being a dance. It ties into something else about the dance in the poem, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, but it is a dance.
It is.
It's because there are points we do need to do. We need to get things done. But then to me, what comes into play is what can we be when we do? Like, can we be present when we have to do? Mm, are we mindful when we're actually doing something? Are we distracted? Are we truly present? How much of do we practice that every day? Do we find opportunities where we can practice it? Oh, thank you, Darlene. Yeah, can we be when we do? Anybody else have anything last to share before we move into meditation? Any final thoughts?
I just want to, my final thought is as I've mentioned before, I just really love this space and the amazing conversations that we have here and the wonderful perspectives from all, um, whether speaking or not speaking in the conversation, just the energy here. I just love that. And um, yeah, thank you all.
Oh, thank you, Mary Jane. Um, did you want to share the poem?
Yes, I could share the poem, Jan. Hold on one second. I have to switch to a different screen because I didn't memorize it.
Oh, no.
No, no, I did not memorize it. So, yeah, so it is a poem actually that Jan found. Oh, and I know that I'm not going to say this name correctly. So, Rabindranath Tagore. And it's just lovely. And as Jan alluded to about the dance, and so it speaks to the same stream of life that runs through my veins night and day, runs through the world and dances in rhythmic measures. It is the same life that shoots in joy through the dust of the earth in numberless blades of grass, and breaks into tumultuous waves of leaves and flowers. It is the same life that is rocked in the ocean cradle of birth and of death, in ebb and in flow. I feel my limbs are made glorious by the touch of this world of life, and my pride is from the life throb of ages, dancing in my blood this moment.
What a beautiful, I mean, that poem was just spoke to me. And so we'll move into our moment or our meditation right now. So to begin this meditation, find a quiet space with minimal distractions if possible. Allow yourself to be comfortable and focus on the sensations in your body. And gently see if you can let go of the thoughts going on in your mind. Move your attention away from the thinking mind if possible, and try to notice any warmth or any tingling that you feel. Focus on your breath to soften any mental activity and get in touch with a sense of just being. Notice the cool air at the tip of your nose as you breathe in, and follow that air as it moves to the back of your throat, where air enters your lungs. Do this 2 more times. Notice the breath as it enters in through your nose, the coolness, feel it. And follow that breath all the way down through your throat. Feel the body expand. One more time. Notice the air as it moves in through your nose, the coolness. Follow that breath all the way to the back of your throat. Feel the body expand. Relax any tension that might be present, particularly in the forehead, the chest, the back, and the stomach. These areas tend to get tense when we're in the doing mode. Notice if your body and mind are trying to get something done. Maybe you're hungry. Maybe you're thinking that you want to get the meditation right, or you just want it to end. If you detect any signals that you want something to change, try to gently relax and let go of thoughts that take you away from this present moment. Become aware of this fact that right now, you don't actually need anything. You're comfortable. All your basic needs are met. Try to be grateful for that. I am safe and all my needs are met. Observe whether you have any thoughts that dwell on the past or look to the future. Notice those thoughts and patiently, without judgment, gently relaxing back into the sense of just being. Ask yourself some questions. What is present? What is here for me right now? How does it feel when there is no problem to solve? What is present when I don't go to the past or the future? And I just am. Rest in this relaxation, this relaxed state for the next few moments. What is present for me right now? When you're ready, gradually start to transition out of this moment. Feel free to move your body gently. Once again, just follow your breath in and out. And then feel free to open your eyes if they're closed. Please connect with Mary Jane and I and everyone here today. We would love to hear from you. We have a number of workshops coming up with our joint venture, Spirit Born Imaginings. So our next workshop is All You Need Is Love, which is on Sunday, February 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Registration is now open. And if you go to the Spirit Born Imaginings Facebook page, LinkedIn page, or groups, then there's quite a lot of information on that workshop. And we also have planned and have the dates for our 8 upcoming workshops, including the one on February 9th for 2025, which is really exciting. So if you want more information on that, just reach out to us. And then also just reach out to us to have a chat. We would love to have a conversation. We appreciate each and every one of you being here today. Just have a wonderful weekend and a good week. We look forward to seeing you back next Friday. Just as an FYI, once you've registered, it should be the same Zoom link, so you don't have to re-register every time. And yeah, we'll put the information for the groups and the poems and everything in the comment section of the event. Feel free to unmute yourselves and say goodbye. Thanks so much.
Bye. Thanks for having us. Bye, Mary Jane.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
everyone.
Thank
Have
you
a
all.
wonderful day, everyone. Thank you.
See you
Thank
next time.
you.